I'm Larry Steinhaus, and welcome to Money Chat Now. Money Chat Now is a politically charged stock market pre-show giving you the politics of the day and the biggest moves in the stock market. It is presented with comedic common sense and just the right amount of sarcasm by an expert in financial literacy, and hey, that's me, Larry Steinhaus. All right, for today's show, my producer has prepared a best-of compilation for your enjoyment. It features some of the most intense, informative, and hilarious segments featured on the show. Hey, you think I'm funny? Wait till you see some of these segments. Be sure to like and share the video and tell me in the comments what your favorite segment for the show was. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and follow Money Chat Now on social media. That way you'll never miss a show. Be sure to tune into Money Chat Now every day at 7:30 a.m. for all the latest going on in politics and the stock market. Hey, enjoy the video and don't forget to make it a profitable day. I'm going to say what I originally named this. And I'm going to tell you, I hope I don't get thrown off of YouTube for saying what I originally named this next section. It was named Chicken and Death to the Jews. Oh, man. You know, sometimes I want to reach through the screen and I want to find the person in charge of a major screw-up like the one I read about KFC in Germany. Do you all know what Kristallnacht is? For those who are unfamiliar, on the night of November 9th, 1938, violent anti-Jewish demonstrators broke out in Germany, Austria, and parts of Czechoslovakia. It was named Kristallnacht because the anti-Jews broke windows of the Jewish residences and shops, and many say it was literally the beginning of the Holocaust. You know, the genocide of all the Jews, the Holocaust. Well, KFC in Germany, of all places, sent out an ad for their restaurants with the following headline. It's Memorial Day for Kristallnacht. Treat yourself with more tender cheese on your crispy chicken, now at KFC Cheese. Yes, treat yourself with extra cheese as you think about your relatives being escorted into the gas chambers. Treat yourself with extra cheese as you think about your relatives being put on a boxcars while being transported to a concentration camp while they wait for death. Oh, and of course, treat yourself to extra cheese as you think about your relatives who were killed by starvation and as the lucky ones surrounding them were killed early. Oh wait, maybe this advertisement was meant for the German people who still think we should wipe out the Jews off the planet. Why else would you reward yourself with more cheese on Kristallnacht? Is KFC out of their freaking minds? Talk about insensitive and just plain wrong. Well, Yum Brands, who owns KFC, apologized for this by issuing a statement that said the following. The notification contained in an obviously unplanned, insensitive, and unacceptable message. Unplanned? Unplanned? What the hell does that mean? Unplanned. So did y'all think that the stupid promotion? Did y'all think of the stupid promotion and then say, "Hey, we will plan it another day"? How does the promotion even get written? Where are the writers? Are they unplanned as well? Duh, boss. I don't know what happened. The words I put in the computer, they were just unplanned. I can't explain it. Unplanned my ass. Wait till you hear their excuse. The fried chicken chain said that it uses a bot linked to national observances to create notifications for its mobile app. KFC said that the chain's internal review process wasn't followed properly, resulting in the alert to go out to customers. What review process? This is a bunch of anti-Semites sending text messages through an app owned by their company, and you allowed it. Crap. Maybe KFC should hire Yee as the next spokesperson. Look, we know inflation here in the United States of America is at a 40-year high. It has affected many people's budgets and has made it difficult to afford many staples such as basic food items for people living with low incomes. On the other hand, many wages are rising and that's also helping to cope with it, but of course it's also causing more inflation. Inflation here in America is currently 8.7%, or 0% if you listen to Biden. But for most of us, we realize it's high. In other countries around the world, they are having similar problems as well. In the UK, the latest inflation rating was a whopping 10.1%. In fact, this announcement today is probably what turned around the futures from being up 200 points last night to flat or losing now, which is bad anyway. And that's what basically caused the euphoria to end, making the market drop today. So far, the only solution for this country and others is to raise interest rates. Of course, we have seen interest rates rising, and now the base rate, which used to be 0, is now 3.25%, making mortgage rates about 7% across the board. It also raised the rates of any adjustable loan that was issued in the past as well. Interest rate increases make it more expensive to buy things on credit, such as houses, cars, and other goods that are often bought with credit. So basically, the concept is to deprive people of resources to buy these items, essentially depriving them of the items themselves, including new housing, cars, whatever. So inflation is running rampant, and the country keeps raising their base interest rates. Well, it looks like the UK, another rate increase is expected. By the way, the Bank of England, similar to the Federal Reserve here, will be raising rates again. However, their current rate is about equal to ours, and it's about 3.25%, just like ours. There are many issues right now in England, and the new Prime Minister tries to stop the runaway train that Boris Johnson and the liberal loonies over there have created. Have you noticed that the leaders of the biggest countries are all loony? Well, nothing compares to the loon we have here right now, that's for sure. Anyway, Liz Truss, the new prime minister, was trying to balance a recession and inflation problem while also balancing a deficit in the country's run pension plans. And because of so many bad decisions and poor leadership before her, she is caught in a loop. Some of these included tax cuts for some and tax increases for others. In France, even, inflation has gotten so bad that the countrymen have taken to the streets in protest. More than 100,000 people took to the streets across France this week to demand higher wages to cope with rising energy bills and broader inflations. To make matters worse, teachers, railway, and health workers all on strike and not reporting to work. They have staged marches in dozens of cities across the country. The protests and strikes started with refinery workers who have been on strike for several weeks. These people are choking fuel supplies nationwide and hobbling the country's refinery system. So now we have all these people on strike while the rest of the country faces freezing because the refineries are closed due to the strikes. Of course, everyone blames Russia and the Ukraine for all of this. Grow up. This is about your country and our country's dependency on oil and materials from other countries. Russia insulated themselves. They aren't hurting from the sanctions. In fact, the sanctions are what's hurting these countries. The war would also end. If the war would also end, we would let them fight it out. Actually, the war would end if we let them fight it out without our interference. Yes, let's take in the refugees. I have no problem with that. From the war as a humanitarian mission, but giving Ukraine weapons and money is just prolonging this mess. Inflation will stop when the rest of the world stops the madness. Oh yeah, and of course when we vote Trump back into office. All of this would have never happened if the vote count was legally processed. Let's all say it together. Let's go, Brandon. When Trump ran for president in 2020, or for 2020, his tax returns were a hot issue. When Richard Nixon ran for president, there was controversy over trust in government and government officials. Nixon decided to release his tax returns in an effort to show transparency and that the voters could trust the president at the time when there was rising alienation and lack of confidence in government. So Nixon turned over his tax returns as a political stunt, and apparently it worked. Well, this became nothing more than a tradition and basically a tit for tat. It's never been a law, nor has there ever been a requirement of candidates to turn over their tax returns to run for presidency. Well, we all know what happened in 2019. When Trump ran, he never turned over his tax returns, and during his entire presidency, he also never turned over his tax returns. By the way, when Nixon turned over his tax return, this is kind of weird, at first it actually hurt him. According to records, Nixon paid around $800 in taxes in both 70 and 71, despite earning around $200,000 a year. Interesting. So these numbers were upsetting to many Americans and journalists who were already curious about Nixon's financial records and had been inquiring about them for several months. Nixon's successor, Gerald Ford, kept the tradition going when he became president, and records show that Ford didn't release his tax return outright, however. He instead released summaries of his annual tax returns. Well, getting back to Trump, the tradition kept going until, well, Trump just plain refused to do it. Well, this upset many Americans, or should I say anti-Americans. After all, it was only the Democrats that were truly upset by it. So the anti-Americans pushed and pushed for the release of the tax returns, and Trump held his ground. The House and Ways Committee sued to obtain Trump's federal returns for the years 2015 through 2020, and then Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin refused to comply with the committee's request to turn them over. So they said, no, we're not going to do it. Trump appointed Munchin and said that the panel did not have a legitimate legislative purpose. So in another attempt to basically trash Trump, the anti-Americans are trying to obtain the tax returns for what they say is a routine audit of presidential tax returns. Trump feels that they will be released into the public, and frankly, I gotta admit, I agree with him. Well, Trump sues to have this case dismissed, and at first the lawsuit to have it dismissed was thrown out. So Trump took it higher and higher, and now it's at the Supreme Court. Now, if the Supreme Court grants Trump's application to delay the order, which is all he's doing at this point, is delaying the order so he can continue to prove that they should not ask for it, it could thwart the Democrat-controlled committee from receiving the returns for several more years or make it so they never receive them. Trump claims, and I agree with him, that tax returns are personal and private. Just because other presidents agreed to voluntarily release their returns, it does not make Trump or any president obligated to turn over the tax returns. So we wait to see if Trump will be obligated to turn them over. My guess is that Trump will ask for a referee to make sure that his returns do not fall into the hands of an enemy, if he basically loses the case and has to turn them over. Of course, in order for this trickery by the anti-Americans to work, they have to get their dirty little hands on the tax returns before next week to possibly change the course of the election. But for you Democrats, don't worry, mail-in voting and drop boxes will definitely save the day for you. I can see it now. Mastriano and Oz by a wide margin going into midnight, and then voila! 300,000 votes by mail will all be open at 3 o'clock in the morning. Forget voter ID. We don't need voter ID. We need fingerprint voting in the future. Hey, Democrats, do black people have fingerprints, or would there be another form of voter suppression by saying they can't get their fingerprints, like, ID to vote? Unbelievable. So yesterday I was driving about an hour on a superhighway. Basically, it was the Pennsylvania Turnpike, by the way, to be exact. And I used my adaptive cruise control and my lane alignment sensors as well. I found myself taking my hands off the wheel as the car followed the lines perfectly and kept my speed perfect distance from the car in front of me. The car has a sensor that tells you that you must keep your hands on the wheel, however, and the sensor is kind of annoying because just when you're starting to enjoy the car driving itself, it reminds you that the technology isn't quite protected yet or perfected yet and that you can't trust it yet. Well, I'll bet the technology is there, and I bet that the liability issues and the government red tape is the real problem, which is why we don't have fully autonomous society yet. One thing is for sure, it's coming, and it's coming fast. I would predict by the end, it'll probably be by the end of this decade, that fully autonomous vehicles will be available for everyone. This coming revolution will change everything we know about autonomous vehicles and transportation. UBS investment firm recently said this: "We expect autonomous driving to be the next technological revolution in the auto space, arguably a more significant megatrend than electrification with a more profound impact on the industry." And this was stated by a top UBS analyst. Here's something else interesting that the report stated by UBS. The investment bank said that China has been a world leader in EV adaptation, and now it has the potential to also lead when it comes to self-driving cars. It cited China's large domestic market, high acceptance of autonomous driving, efficient supply chains, and supportive infrastructure, among other factors, as the reason. UBS estimated that China's potential autonomous driving-related market could reach $100 billion by 2030. So China may actually be the leader in autonomous vehicles. Why not? They don't have real people there anyway. On the forefront of this investment, by the way, that wasn't a strike on Chinese people, it was a strike on the Chinese leader. Anyway, on the forefront of this investment will be the companies who may benefit from most of the technology of autonomous vehicles. My favorite pick is still Uber. I easily predict Uber to be the autonomous vehicle of the future, or owners of the future. Think about it. Uber will eliminate the driver completely and allow the company's profits to skyrocket. For those who think the concept of Uber was all about the people who drove, it's true. It started out that way. However, look at how Netflix adapted and became the company it is today. Netflix started out by mailing you 3 DVDs, you watched them, then you sent them back, and you got another 3 DVDs to watch. They had no streaming, no production services. It was just a warehouse of DVDs, and they sent it to you, and then you mailed them back. Netflix sent their first DVD in 1998. That was just 25 years ago, right? So Uber sent their first rideshare in 2010. They're about half the age of Netflix. The other top contender in autonomy will of course be Tesla. The Tesla's cars are already fully autonomous, and for those who are allowed to use them, that is anyway. So Tesla has a feature called Autopilot that will allow the car to drive fully autonomously to a destination and park itself. According to the documentation on Tesla's website, Autopilot comes standard, by the way, on every new Tesla. For owners, by the way, who took delivery of their car without Autopilot, there are 2 Autopilot packages available for purchase, depending on when your car was built. Enhanced Autopilot and full self-driving capability. Another top player in autonomous vehicle is one that I think will surprise you. Or maybe it won't surprise you, and that brand is Mercedes. Mercedes has a partnership with the semiconductor giant NVIDIA to develop the next generation of German automakers' in-vehicle computing systems. Mercedes is set to start deploying the new technology across its fleet in 2024. There are also some Chinese brands that are expected to be leaders in this space. They are Li Auto, XPeng, and Beidou. They are all players in the future, and if you're so inclined to invest in them, it may be something to do. I also like Hertz, by the way, as an autonomous car investment. I believe that the rental industry will become another Uber-type company. Hertz will also benefit from those who wanted to try out the cars before they buy them. I often rent powerful or luxury cars from the rental cars. Sometimes I rent Corvettes or sometimes I rent some other things. Basically what I do, it lets me try out a few days and see if I like it. The Vettes and Mustangs and high-class SUVs, I test drive them for a few days because, a test drive for half an hour before you buy a car is nothing. When you're driving them for a few days, you really start to get the quirks. Anyway, if you pass me on the road and I look asleep behind the wheel, well, it probably means that I am, and my car is taking me home. Hey, I wonder if cars will get an attitude like a Knight Rider car. Remember the Knight Rider car kit? Right now that was really a cool autonomous car. You guys remember that, right? I bet someone creates one out of a Trans Am just for the nostalgia of it. The war against Biden, Harris, and other Democrat leaders continues as it gets more and more ironic every day. Have you heard about this war? The war where the border states are trying to keep illegal migrants from crossing the border to enter the country as president and vice president continue to say there's no problem at the border. Well, as you know, this has escalated into Governor Abbott of Texas busking the illegal aliens to so-called sanctuary cities to keep his state from being overrun with the caring and feeding of these people. Well, this practice of busing the illegals to other cities is growing, and it's growing to the point where it can be considered a real war. Yesterday marked the pinnacle, however, of the transportation of migrants when Governor DeSantis sent planes with these illegal migrants to Martha's Vineyard to remove them from his state. On the same day, yesterday, Governor Abbott sent 2 buses of illegal migrants directly to the door of Kamala Harris's home in Washington, D.C. Oh my goodness, I gotta tell you, I got a chuckle out of this news report. Now, look, we all know that the mayors of the cities are complaining about this practice, and they're changing their tune and starting to say, look how we're treating these people. We're giving them food and we're giving them hugs. I don't know if you saw some of the videos. It's funny because if you watch the videos on Fox or you watch the videos on CNN, they're completely different stories. The ones on Fox are like, if they would just stop the illegals coming in, this wouldn't happen. And the ones on CNN are like, look how kind we are. We're giving them food and hugs. Seriously, Martha's Vineyard, right? It's an area made up of upper white class liberals, and they're proving that their signs say they welcome all people. Well, the people of what is now called migrants' vineyards, they all understand, right? They understand the problem of too many migrants at once. They're going to get it. They're going to understand how quickly that many migrants is going to destroy their economy. Yes, you will be the welcoming, opening arms community for now. This political move will serve you well to try to say that the Republicans are racist and using the migrants as pawns in the war to protect the border, but after a while, you will have a new landscape in your town as Abbott does, and he has these people at the border. By the way, he's doing a favor to them by sending them to you. As a sanctuary city, you vowed to help these people. Now keep your promise. On the other hand, at least your lawns will all be mowed and your sidewalks will be clean and clear of snow, and it'll cost less. I'm actually looking forward to this practice continuing, not just for comedic value, but most importantly because these illegal aliens now have more warm places to live in a city that welcomes them. Yeah, right. So what is Biden's solution to the problem? Wait till you hear this. Biden actually barked the following words in an interview over this, right? He said, instead of working on us with solutions, Republicans are playing politics with human beings, using them as props. What they're doing is simply wrong. It's un-American. It's reckless. We have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working on making sure it's safe and orderly and humane. Republican officials should not interfere with that process and wage these political stunts. What? Is he crazy? We have a process? The process should be turn them around and send them back home. Wait till you hear the next thing he said. It's long overdue for state Republicans to come to the table and provide a pathway for citizenship for dreamers, those in temporary status, farm workers, and essential workers. We need to modernize our laws so businesses get workers they need and families don't have to wait decades to be brought back together. It's time to get it done. This idiot doesn't see that thousands of people a day are entering our country with no background checks, no health screenings, and no place to house or feed them, and it's a problem. It's just another sign of dementia. Earlier, White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre denounced Republican governors Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott sending migrants to Martha's Vineyard and Vice President Kamala's residence in D.C., and she said it's a cruel, premeditated political stunt. She continued, and she said, the children Governor Abbott abandoned in Martha's Vineyard, the children that Governor Sanders abandoned, and well, you know, they deserve better. They deserve better than being left on the streets of D.C. or being left in Martha's Vineyard. Well, duh. That's why he shipped them to you guys. You said you would take care of them. Now do it. They're in a safe place now. The sanctuary cities have been claiming they will take care of these people. Now carry on and take care of them. Just like the visions of the people who come to a country has exacerbated the problem of illegal migrants crossing our border, you will see that the governments of these states will continue more and more trips as you, the sanctuary states, continue to prove it's the best place for these people to be. The ones on the buses and planes are the lucky lottery winners. Now they're in a state where they're welcome, and they get free transportation and free food to get there. Soon someone, maybe someone in Fox News, will interview the bused illegal migrants and say how grateful they are to have been chosen. I mean, if 1,000 people are coming across the border a day and these buses are only filled with 50 people, they have definitely been chosen to be the lucky ones being driven or flown from the cages that Obama erected to house these people in Texas. And now they go to beautiful places like Martha's Vineyard or Kamala Harris's house? Come on, that's fantastic. This morning's news, it was released that Putin made a speech yesterday about how he is mobilizing forces in Russia. Yesterday, in a pre-recorded message, Putin had ordered the partial mobilization of the Russian population, including ordering military reservists into active service and boost weapons production. He is actually calling on citizens to go to war against Ukraine. In the announcement, Putin said the West wants to destroy our country. He then claimed that the West had tried to turn Ukraine's people into cannon fodder. These comments were translated, by the way, by Reuters, repeating earlier claims in which he had blamed Western nations for starting a proxy war with Russia. The man is obviously off his rocker. Hey, Putin, you start a war when you fire the first shot. Don't blame others for your bad decisions, or someone here in America will have you run as a Democrat. It's all you, Putin. The crazy part of this war is how well Ukraine is defending itself against Russia. Look, of course, Ukraine is being blasted over and over again, and it's terrible, but they have not given up. It's a real-life victory movie in the making. Unfortunately, Ukraine can only play defense, and it can't actually attack Russia. The other problem is that the United States keeps funding this war with no end in sight. For Russia, this partial mobilization will be very confusing, but it could mean that Russian businesses and citizens have to contribute more to the war effort. Believe it or not, Russia has not officially declared war on Ukraine. They still call the invasion a special military operation. This is the mind of someone drunk on power. Wall Street reacted negatively to Putin's comments, with oil prices spiking more than 2% and the Russian ruble slumped around 2.5% against the dollar. By the way, I told you guys in February, buy the ruble. It would have been a great play. Anyway, that will drop the prices of travel stocks again, and it's already happening. I did see that Carnival Cruise Line was dropping, and the others are also dropping as well. I can't help to think that if the real president was sitting in the White House, that none of this would have happened. Hey, I want to thank you for watching Money Chat Now. Don't Don't forget, we are live every morning at 7:30 on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And of course, you can also find repeats of the show on Rumble and Spotify. My name is Larry Steinhaus. I am the host of Money Chat Now, and I am the CEO of Investor Schooling. Don't forget, you can also contact me directly at contactlarry.com. That's contactlarry.com. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Make it a profitable day.